For Krima Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Mandla Matebula discusses a book titled The Backroom Boy and Mlangeni. Welcome, Mr. Matebula.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us why you decided to write the book about this ANC stalwart and who should be reading this book?
Well, I chose him specifically because he's unique within his generation of struggle heroes. He had a very unique character of a leader, the one who wanted to remain in the background, but who liked to work very hard from the background, choosing not to be known by the general public. But because he has always been a hard worker, people would know him eventually, whether he liked it or not, because they will be seeing what he had been doing. And as a result, they will be interested in this figure behind the good work that is being done in the struggle.
So can you share some of the things that he has done, because you've just told us that his intention was not to be in the forefront, but his work spoke for itself. So what kind of work has he done for the ANC?
Let me say generally for the struggle, he has been relentless in putting up his efforts towards liberating the country. For the ANC, he has been very loyal. He would execute the tasks that were assigned to him by the ANC without any complaint, and he wouldn't betray the struggle. One thing that many people do not know, that he was the first recruit of Umkhonto weSizwe after the National High Command had been established. So in other words, he was the first foot soldier recruited by Nelson Mandela. And he was surprised that Nelson Mandela chose him. And when he was selected by the ANC to go and train in China with others, he did not ask many questions. He accepted. And when he came back, he substituted Joe Mudis, who was responsible for recruitment and dispatching of new recruits abroad for training. It was a very dangerous job, because already by the time he substituted Joe Mudis, those activities were under police surveillance. Mudisa was actually being rescued from arrest because the police were following him, but he stepped in and continued with the good work. Even when he was in jail, he was one of those who were strategizing with the likes of Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu and others. And they were even planning what they were going to do after their release. So after his release, he continued the struggle. He spent the first 3 months or so after he was released without seeing his children, who were already in exile. And when he met with his first child in exile, he did not bother to spend a lot of time with him, because he was focused on the mission that he had gone for abroad. So he has always been committed, and for many years he did not see his children, by the way. They grew up away from him. They left the country to Botswana to stay with their grandmother when he was still a free man. And it would take a lot of so many years for him to see the first one when he was in jail. That was his daughter.
So what can the politicians of today learn from Andrew Mlangeni, his journey, as well as how he handled whatever duties he had to do within the ANC?
I think the first thing they must learn is that if you are a leader, especially a political leader, you must have a philosophy. And Mlangeni had his own philosophy, and his philosophy was threefold. He had a love for his country and people, and he was pained by what was happening to his people, and he chose to do something in order to liberate them. But he also chose a vehicle through which to liberate his people, and respected its policies and principles. These are the things that characterize him even today, and I'm very convinced that it will be his conviction until he dies. Because even now, when he was deployed to Parliament after the first democratic elections, he did not long for a higher post. He was fine where he was deployed. Even within the ANC structures, he's not fighting for positions. He doesn't care which positions he gets. And he takes a position out of deployment, out of being asked and begged by the movement to take such a task. And once he takes it, he performs it to the best ability that he has. And another thing that people should learn from him is that when you love your country and your people, it's not about you, what you get, or a reward that you get after. He doesn't care about the rewards. For him, the reward, the liberation was enough reward, more than anything else.
So was it easy to get information from him? Because we know that most of the ANC stalwarts, especially people like him, who are so focused on the ANC, who did everything they could do to fight for this country, they're not like open towards telling everything that happened when they were still fighting for liberation. Was it an easy task for you to get information from the guy?
No, it was not easy. Actually, that's why the project took longer. It's because most of the information had to be researched parallel to what we're getting directly from him. This is also the reason why we worked as a team, like people like Luli Kalinikos, to try and verify some of the information, because she's a researcher, especially of liberation struggle. So she has written some works. She wrote the biography of Oliver Tambo and some articles about the ANC in exile and so on. And Pat Baloy was also one of those who assisted, because he does research, although he doesn't write much, but he does research, especially for the ANC activities and individuals within the ANC. We wanted to make sure that whatever information that we get from him is properly verified, so that it's part of history. You don't want to misrepresent history. But also, we wanted to get as much information as possible parallel to what he was saying, because you'll imagine some of the events happened long time ago. Also, you'll understand his age. He's very old. You will forget some of the names. You will forget some of the events or the chronology of those events. Another element that I identified in him, and when you've observed Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu, you'll find this element also in them. So I think it's a generational element where he wouldn't want to take credit even where he was supposed to take credit. So he would pass over credit to his comrades, especially those who were senior to him. But then in that instance, we had to to coin our content very well there and carefully, to make sure that at the end of the day also accepts it, because he rejected some of that content when it was credited to him, and sometimes we had to credit it within the collective, not necessarily to an individual. But he is that kind of a person who doesn't want glory, but he prefers to play his part in society.
Would you recommend for someone who is a keen, like an up-and-coming politician, like the young ones, to read this book?
Actually, I would say I wish it was compulsory for current leaders to read books of this nature, especially within the ruling party itself and other political parties. I know there are those who have shown interest. I hope they will learn something, those who have already read it. But I would want everyone to read it, just to learn how to use your philosophy in the leadership. That will give you reasons why you must lead, other than to take care of your own stomach or to fight for glory. Because what I can advise them is that I think they already observe that those who take leadership positions to benefit themselves cannot sustain that. In the long run, they are exposed and they lose reputation. But if you want to die with your own reputation, adopt the philosophy that is focused towards the people you want to lead, so that you are not seen to be taking a position to take care of your own stomach.
There was an interesting part in the book where Mr. Mlangeni disguised as a reverend. Can you take us through that process in his life journey?
Yeah. When he came back from China and he took over from Joe Modise as the person responsible for recruitment, it was the time when the ANC was busy with this Operation Maibuye document, which was actually a strategy or campaign aimed at fast-tracking liberation. In that campaign, they had ambitious targets like recruiting a lot of people to be trained, and then for them to be deployed back into the country so that they will fight and take over the country. As I said, at that time, Modise was already under police surveillance, and when he took over, he had to disguise. Interestingly, he had a friend who was a member of these African independent churches, ST Amazion, who spoke to his Reverend, and they prepared him as a fake Reverend, and they gave him a collar and that costume, as well as a certificate, and he became the Reverend, a fake one, of course. So, but then what he forgot is that that was not enough for him to disguise as a Reverend. When he went to Bloemfontein on an MK mission, he was housed by another Reverend there. And you know, in most of the African communities, if you're a Reverend, they don't expect you to smoke. They expect you to bless your food before you eat and to pray before you go to bed. But for him, the kids of that other Reverend were surprised that when he was given food, he just went straight and started to eat without blessing the food. And they also saw him smoking a cigarette, and they were surprised, what kind of a Reverend is this one? So whatever, he was not coached of when he left Soweto by that Reverend and his friend who prepared him as a fake priest. He learned from Bloemfontein when that Reverend and his wife started to teach him now how to behave like a Reverend. But it did help him, although that was unearthed also by the police. So by the time he was arrested, those two who prepared him as a fake Reverend were also called in to be state witnesses. And interestingly, he was happy that they are state witnesses and not accused with him, because he thought they were safer as state witnesses than as detainees with him. And for that, he sent a message to them that no, they must feel free to say whatever they wanted to say, so that then they would be safer than him. That was another interesting development.
That's just the kind of person.
Yes, that's how he is. Yeah.
Can you also share some of the interesting information that you have learned while you were researching about this stalwart?
Well, the first one is how he respected Mao Tse-Tung. I know some people will have a different attitude towards him. At the time, he was a powerful leader in the world, well respected and feared in his own country and outside the country. But then there was something that he adopted from him that he liked, like his philosophy. You know, Mao Tse-Tung loved his country and loved his people. He may have made some mistakes in dealing with certain issues there, but even those mistakes, in my view, were committed while trying to show his love for his country and for his people. So I know many people are surprised that he adores Mao Tse-Tung and his philosophy. But another thing that's interesting, especially before he went to jail, was the way he respected women. Remember, in the liberation, he was recruited by a woman and mentored by this woman, Ruth First, from the Communist Youth League. And the way he grew up to respect women, you will see that throughout his relationship with his wife and with his female comrades. That's something very interesting, considering at that time how men would look at women maybe as objects and so on. But he looked upon the people like Ruth First and others of a generation at the time as his leaders and as comrades. And for that, I think it's something also that the current generation can learn from him. Yeah.
So do you think the ANC, if you look at it in its current state now, can learn something from people like him? And why do you think they are not using the stalwarts in the forefront while they are fixing their issues?
Yeah, you know, many things have changed in the ANC. I think after liberation, many people in the ANC or outside the ANC who were not grounded with the philosophy and principles of the ANC joined the ANC, but they also rose in ranks and became leaders without necessarily being prepared to be in those positions. But there were leaders within the ANC, in my view, who took advantage of such influx of people into the ANC and aligned with them to try and sideline those that they felt were a threat to them and their positions. In that sense, the ANC lost focus. And in losing that focus, the ANC was no longer, let me say from that period, was gradually losing the people. And the leaders became or saw themselves as the ANC, no longer seeing the people or members of the ANC as the ANC. I'm not sure if they can still learn anything at this stage at the rate at which the ANC is declining. And by all means possible, the likes of Mlangeni are trying to manage or mitigate that pain of seeing the ANC declining, the ANC that they built painfully to a strong force like that it became declining. And when the current leadership doesn't want to work with the stalwart because they feel they will take their positions, or they feel might change some of the things that they like, which the stalwart might not want. I think it's painful. Not that they don't learn anything. I think they understand exactly where the ANC comes from. But they don't have that capacity to take whatever they are learning from this stalwart and implement it, because they lack a certain element there, which is love for your country and people. And therefore, an additional element of sacrifice. That's one of saying, I can sacrifice for my people and the country, for my love that I have for them. There are others in the ANC leadership who are willing, or who are as committed as some of the members of this generation of Mlangeni. But the fact is, as long as they are neutralized by others who are not like them, but who are more powerful than them, they won't be able to change the direction that the ANC has taken now.
And lastly, can you share some of the response you've received since this book was published?
Well, there are people who have read it and congratulated me. But there are people who have read the book and are dying to meet with Mlangeni, because they want him to share with them directly his experiences, especially his philosophy, and how he manages to this day to remain humble and to remain loyal to the ANC, and to choose to remain with the people he was staying all along. I mean, he stays at Dube. He's still with his neighbors who were there when he occupied the house for the first time, before he went to jail and when he came back to jail. And he still interacts with those you will say are not in the same class with the people in his neighborhood of Dube. There are people who want to learn directly from him, but unfortunately, that opportunity will be rare. Some will find it, some won't find it. And those who knew his wife think I should also write separately about his wife. She was also a struggle icon, and she was active when he was in jail, even before he went to jail. But she supported him like, she was one of the most loyal wives that you will think of. So they wanted to also there are those who want to learn from his kids, how they survived without him and without their mother as well, because it's not like she brought them up single-handedly. She was also not there, busy with the struggle, and the boys were outside the country for almost their entire youth years and maybe middle age. So, but there are people who want to know from him why he did not take an opportunity to be rich. But it's not poor anyway. So I know the answers that he will give them, but they don't want them from me. They want them from him. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathebula, for your time.
Yeah, welcome.
That was Mandla Mathebula speaking to Krima Media's Polity about the book titled The Backroom Boy and Mlangeni.